Hello YouTube, my name is Brian and you're on Nufangld. Today I'm going to be talking about something that sort of came up in the comment section of my last video. If you haven't already seen that video, a link will pop up in the top right for you. I went over almost everything that you could need to know if you're on the fence about buying the Oculus Quest 2. There were a couple of comments that I wanted to address, mainly using it as a PC VR headset and the comparisons between it and other headsets when it came to tracking. I wanted to use a game that was extremely tracking heavy, so I chose Beat Saber. It's also the most popular game, so it just fit perfectly. There's also a new soundtrack that just came out this week, so I went ahead and went with a song from that. So Dynamite from BTS is going to be used throughout this video. So the 4 different ways that I tested playing Beat Saber were on the Quest 2 natively. This is completely wireless and without any PCs. The next is using the Valve Index connected to my PC. I didn't use the Steam VR version of Beat Saber. For all of the tests, I used the Oculus versions of Beat Saber. So that means that while playing on the Valve Index, I was going through Revive, which does add a little bit of overhead. I don't think it's ever been noticeable to me, but I just wanted to point that out. And that also means that the next one, the Oculus Link variant, which is where you connect your Quest 2 to your PC using USB 3, was also on the Oculus version, and that was running natively on the Oculus app. Then the final way that I played Beat Saber was wirelessly using virtual desktop to play it on my PC using the Quest 2. Wireless PC VR, the dream of the future, but there are definitely some drawbacks that I'll point out later in this video. Now, as far as head tracking and hand tracking goes, the Valve Index did have some imperceptible amount of clarity to the hand tracking that I think might just be the fact that it was 90 Hz. I don't think that it gave any better tracking than the Quest 2 when it came to hand controller and headset tracking. Straight up from the beginning, before I even go into the further comparisons, if I was to choose one of these 4 ways to play Beat Saber for the rest of the time, it would be natively on the Oculus Quest 2. Let's get into the differences for PC VR though, because this isn't just about Beat Saber. This is about the tracking of the Quest 2 versus the Valve Index, really seeing if they are near the same. So Beat Saber aside, let's look at them. You are able to see all 4 versions being played. For the most part, the recordings are going to look pretty similar. If you look at virtual desktop being used, that's the one where you're going to see a ton of mistakes at the beginning. And that's because that's really the only method of play where I felt a huge difference in tracking. All of the rest felt almost identical to each other. And in fact, playing Oculus Link versus using the Valve Index felt 100% identical. Even down to the visuals, where the Oculus Link platform compresses the edges of the image, but the center on the Quest 2 is much more clear and crisp because it has a higher resolution. So even the visuals were almost identical between the Valve Index and the Quest 2, as much so as I don't know which one was better. And as far as tracking goes, on all 3 of those versions, whether it be the Quest 2 natively, the Valve Index, or playing over Oculus Link, they all felt flawless and the same as I would expect from any high-end, top-of-the-line PC VR consumer headset. When we get into the wireless with virtual desktop, that's where things get a little interesting. When I move my hands, it looks normal with the exception of one thing. If I move my hand fast, it almost overextends and then bounces back. So if I go like that, it will then go like that. It's hard to describe on camera. But basically, I feel like virtual desktop is doing some form of motion prediction on the hand controllers so that it can tell where it thinks you're moving next, and then it corrects when it gets the newest information. I don't know if that's the case. That's what it felt like. When playing Beat Saber, I did immediately realize there was a perceptible delay in controller movement. I don't know how perceptible, because while moving my hands, they looked normal, but I was missing the notes until towards the middle of the song, I started pretending that they were coming a little bit sooner, and I just swung before I thought I should, and it actually adjusted fine. So if that's the only way you can play for some reason, then I think it's actually still playable. I think you can still get really good scores playing that way, but you will want to be really close to your Wi-Fi router. I was actually only a few feet from mine, really, really close when playing that way. So yeah, that's all I really have for this video. I just wanted to handle any concerns that there might have been that tracking is somehow inferior on the Quest 2. That's just simply not the case. It's essentially identical to the Valve Index, with the exception that you can't track behind your head. But for the most part, there's not much where that comes up. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, go ahead and leave this video a like. If you'd like more content like it in the future, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll be sure to deliver on that. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave those in the comments below. And thank you for watching.